Hey, and welcome back to Life Unscripted podcast. We are a little bit behind on our shooting schedule this week. So this episode will have come out a little later this week, just because we had a slightly busier weekend and...
Busy week.
We didn't plan ahead, I guess, is what happened. We were busy with things, and
life gets in the way sometimes, and sometimes it's hard to do everything.
Well, yeah, that's true. But we did also speak about it in terms of we're just like we're not going to do it. We'll just get out. It's a little bit later than usual. We'll get out a bit later than usual, and it's no problems. Then we'll just fall back into our schedule next week. That's what I was trying to say there. What I thought would be quite nice, though, would be to start this episode off. What are you laughing at? I'm just getting my foot comfy here, and Sarah's like, is that what you're laughing about? My foot?
It's not me making that weird noise, and I'm just thinking of the people on the audio thing. Listen to that.
You're welcome. What was this? You can't throw me off like that. My mind just goes, I was thinking we could start off by basically talking just a bit about something we're grateful for. I thought that'd be a nice place to start this episode, to get us going. Mm-hmm. Before we dive into the past, which is, if you were listening to the last episode, you'll maybe remember what's coming. But what are you grateful for, Sarah?
This is going to sound cheesy and corny, and I probably already said this before, but I'm very grateful for you.
Thank you.
I think especially last week, it was a very busy week, and emotions were high, and we were tired, and life was lifing, and I actually went to the cinema. I spent half our time in the cinema. I have no social life.
That's a social life. We go to the cinema with people. I love the cinema. I'm really sad that the cinema's not getting like there's amount of people going to.
I was at the cinema again, and I went to go see the movie We Live in Time. Most emotional thing I've ever seen in my life.
Most what?
Emotional. And all I could think about was you, and it really puts your whole entire life into perspective. And I think because I do work a 9-to-5 job, and I'm in the rat race, I guess. Like you're up to work, you come home, you do it all over again, and sometimes not that I don't enjoy it, I do enjoy it, but sometimes you think there's more purpose to life. But no matter if you're going through a stressful time or whatever, I'm so eternally grateful for you. And I think, again, it just puts things into perspective. If you're annoyed at someone for not doing the dishes or cleaning up or X, Y, and Z, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Because if one day, touch wood, don't want it to happen, but if our health, either one of our health was compromised, the whole world would just fall apart. So yeah, I'm very grateful for you.
I'm also very grateful for you.
But that's not your answer.
Well, last week, I definitely had a few pretty big script attacks last week. Just over work and different stuff. And Sarah was very supportive throughout that whole process, which was awesome. But I'm also very grateful to just know about the script, I think. Because I may have mentioned in the podcast before, but I'd have these kind of panicky attack things that would really spiral off sometimes. And what I had this last week basically was what that was. It's just that now it won't last more than if it happens during the day, it'll last a couple hours, and if it happens at night, I'll go to bed and then I'll wake up the next day and it'll be gone. It'll be
bounce back as
totally resolved. I won't have really any residual effects because I know now it wasn't me, and I'm not crap. It's the script, and the script just got me. And as soon as I wake up to that fact, whether that be literally in the morning or metaphorically wake up during the day, I do actually waking back up, and I'm immediately I bounce back.
But looking back on it now, it's actually quite interesting from a script and a life unscripted point of view.
Yeah.
Because again, that we both know about it, and we can separate ourselves from the script. In the moment, I was okay, and I was there to try and help and support you. And some of the things you were saying, I then held on to it. Well, the script held on to it until the day after. And it actually created a really interesting conversation between my script and your script. And how to we weren't arguing or anything. It was just generally trying to support each other. But your worries and fears then turned into mine. Well, it turned into the scripts.
And that's kind of what I was saying in the last episode, where I was talking about putting my hand on my face. Sarah keeps saying to me, you stop putting your hand on your face. I have this really bad habit of putting my hand up to my face. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm still just feeling a bit nervous about being on camera. I'm trying to hide. But anyway,
Maybe.
be more conscious.
Right, I'll put your hands behind your back.
Yeah, I'm gonna come with handcuffs on the next episode. Yeah, basically, why did I go off on that stupid tangent about my hand? I don't even know what I was saying anymore.
We're talking about our last week and how your worries and fears turned.
I was saying in the last episode about not making like someone else's scripty shit my scripty shit, and that's like an example of it. But having said that, that did happen the first time. Like I was really scripty, and I was something, you know, when you're scripty and you're just in a very like not a great state. Yeah, you just say things. It's like, it's not true. And then I think what was awesome though is we then spoke about that, and then so like I say, there was about 3 times last week I had these fairly major script attacks, and that which is pretty rare for me, to be honest. To have like, it felt like, oh my god, this is like, it's fine. I'm a human. It happens. So I had 3 fairly large ones, and the first one, what you just said there about holding on to things, that happened. But then we spoke about it, and to be fair, the subsequent 2, you didn't really at all, and you were like way more there, because we actually spoke about it as well, as like, when I'm feeling like that, like what do I need, I guess, support wise, and then you did it. I said this is what I'll respond well to, as far like, and you did, and then I did respond well to it, and it worked really well. So
it's funny though, because then after you said what you did need and want, and whenever you were in a bit more clarity, the script was like, you're a rubbish girlfriend because you didn't do the right things to help him. Well, it's actually madness. Yeah, I mean, it's just exhausting. But I thought something that we could mention just on the topic of that, something that you did say was that you feel as a guy and your male script, something quite profound is that you feel like as a man you can't always lean on me.
I think it's probably like an unspoken thing, but it's especially
from like an emotional point of view.
It's partially like an unspoken thing. Yeah, exactly. But it's also something that I've heard men actually say. Like it's a bad idea to like show that type of weakness or like lean on your wife or your girlfriend or whoever. Which it's crazy because. Like, I think we're closer, I think, as a result of going through it, and like me leaning on you, and then us talking about it, and then you helping me through it. Like, I don't see why that could possibly be a con. Like me just being more human and just explaining what's actually happening to me when I'm not feeling okay. And
I think even from a point of view that after we had the conversation, I did hold on, like the first one I held on to things, but we had a conversation to say that you can't, like it wasn't my space to hold on to anything, especially because it wasn't true. But we spoke about it again, and I really do hope like the next time, if you felt like that was to come over you would be able to like lean on me without any worry that I would ever bring it back up again, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. I guess it's kind of like we spoke about at the start of our relationship, like when you were maybe feeling not great about like how we were, like you were really, I'm saying like it's an example there again where if I decided, you said some stuff where you're like, you're not feeling about it, I could have held on to that, and then it would have just ended the relationship eventually, you know. So I think it's just, there's no point when someone is clearly very scripty and they're just saying kind of like whatever they're saying, it's just realizing that it's not really them in that moment, and
but I can see from, if
give them a wide berth, you know.
If you don't know what the script is, we could have gone on weeks and weeks, like not arguing, but like having like tough conversations, and then leading into arguments, and then not talking to each other and whatever. Like I think because we knew about it, we knew it wasn't us, and there was like frustrations there only because like, we loved each other. But then you're able to come out the other side quicker, and you can get over it quicker.
Even that's the thing though. Because it's just, I mean, the script tries to use bloody, that's what we said in another episode as well. It's like, especially when you realize about the script, it starts to just use anything else as it can as ammunition, because it's always trying to get you. And it could easily be like if one of us gets scripted, then the other one gets caught up in it. The script will now be like, oh, even after you've had that conversation, you fail. It's like, but it's so easy to happen. It's just the script is just being a human being. You know, it's just giving yourself and each other a wide enough berth that it's like you're just going to be a human sometimes, and that's okay. You know.
Yeah.
But having said all that, that was a very long gratitude segment. I had in my head, this would be a 2-minute, nice 2-minute start.
It's never going to happen.
At the start of every episode,
Once we start, we can't stop.
I'm like, I'll keep this to about 30 minutes, shall we? And then
he says it every single
Sarah
week.
just rolls her eyes because she's like, yeah, no way. And then it never is.
Says the guy who has the script that says he can't communicate.
Well, there you go.
He can't shut him up.
Can't shut me up. Guess it's wrong again.
I remember whenever you first told me about how you felt like that, and I was shocked. I was like, There's no way. You're a personal trainer. You can't stop talking. And the thing is like, see, when you get going, you can't stop. And sometimes you might hear the mic distort because, see, whenever it gets really passionate, it gets very, very loud. And we need to, per mic, honestly.
That was a good segue into the next section, which is going to be about us.
I'm a professional podcaster.
Yeah, well done. Us talking a little bit about our stories, and yeah, we spoke about things that we'd kind of, or the script really had held on to for a large part of our life, if not all of our life up until now, and just any memories we had that really were really like these core memories, but not core memories that the script has kind of made core memories.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not me that would have chosen that as a core memory, but it has become a core memory just because the script has based a large part of the identity that it created for me around that memory. And like I've mentioned several times, one of the big things for me was like dealing with a lot of social anxiety and communication problems and feeling like I couldn't communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I did the broadband consciousness course where I learned about the script, and I was talking about this on the course, and yeah, I hadn't really, like, I always remembered this memory. But I just hadn't really like been like, shit, man, that's like where that was the real moment where the script was like, yeah, we're going to run with this. And I was in high school. I was maybe like 13 years old, maybe about 13. I can't quite remember. Something around there. And remember there was a girl I kind of liked. And I had my really good friend at the time, one of my good friends in school. And I was standing with him and then this girl that I liked. And I can't remember what was being said. We were just conversing, talking away. And then for whatever reason, she called me boring to my face, which is not nice. But that's not really what the nail in the coffin was for the script. It was actually that my good friend at the time, or who I thought was my good friend at the time, he agreed with her. And then I think he was like, oh my God, like I think he just realized what he'd done. And I don't really know why, what prompted him to do it. Like anyway, because we had a lot of, in my head, we had a lot of fun together. Like we had the opposite of boring times together, a lot of them. But anyway, he said it. And then, yeah, the script ran with that because that wasn't the first time it happened. That wasn't the only time it happened. There was actually another time when I was on the bus, and then that same friend, and this story's not sounding like a very good friend, was behind me on the bus. And I was just sitting with a couple of other people just chatting, and he was with some other people chatting on the bus. We used to take the bus to school. It was the town next as we went to school. And yeah, he said it again, like in similar words. And I think because it's someone who I had the perception that we had so much fun together, that when I heard that his perception might have been that it was quite boring, I was like, God, I must be really boring and I don't realize it. And then that started to form this identity, or the script then took that. I didn't know about the script at the time, obviously, but the script then took that and created this whole identity of, it wasn't, I guess it was that I'm boring, but it was really just like, like my perception of the situation is probably going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So if I'm having fun, there's a high likelihood that they're not. Does that make sense? So I think that's kind of in large part, because that's how I felt in that moment. And then because the script is like I was, it's kind of like a lawyer. It's not a defense attorney. It's the one that's like a prosecutor. It's like prosecuting you. So it started. It's like a prosecuting lawyer. So it started finding all this evidence in my life to back up that story. So then I spent the better part of a decade or more essentially just letting the script gather all this evidence in favor of that being true, because that's the thing. I don't think maybe I did, but what I'm saying is, regardless of how good or bad or in the middle all the conversations and interactions I was having were, it's almost like I can't fully remember, because all I can remember is the fact that all the times the script was like, yeah, this was bad. This didn't work. This was awkward. This was, you were born here. Like, oh, they didn't respond well to you, which I'm sure like everyone experiences to some degree. It's just that depending on someone's story and what the script's saying to them, they may or may not be noticing it to varying degrees. And I was just hyper aware of it. So then the script had just built all this evidence up against me that I couldn't communicate, and that people probably did find me boring, and that I was misinterpreting like situations in terms of, oh, I find this really fun, but they probably don't.
And it's even interesting how you're telling the story. You can't remember anything else apart from that. I know it was a long time ago, but you can't remember anything else, any other interaction within that whole conversation.
Oh,
apart from him saying, "Oh, well, he's boring."
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can't even remember what the girl said. You don't even know what she said, or even if she agreed with him or not. Is because your best friend or good friend at the time said that you were boring, and because it's an external. Half the time you can be battling in your head about, oh, am I being awkward? Am I having fun? Are these people having fun with me? Yeah. But the fact that an external person said it to you, the script was like, I'm going to hold on to this forever.
Yeah, and then
it was perfect for the script.
He
might have even been like sarcastic or joking.
Yeah.
But you don't. That's just because at the time the script is perceiving something and wanting something to like convince you of what it thinks is true.
Yeah, and I just created this whole identity around communication. So then I'm saying I probably did it. I ended up probably having a higher. I'm saying I didn't know if I did, but I probably did end up having a higher percentage of like awkward conversations, purely because I would end up in my head a lot. Like I'm overanalyzing it, and they can, I guess, people could probably sense my energy that I'm feeling like very awkward about it. And it wasn't until I learned about the script that I was then able to, like I said in the last episode, I was able to retroactively go back and like forgive him and see things in a much different light now, and even start to like remember different things, like good times I had from a communication point of view and fun times I had. And yeah, just retroactively go back and realize that it wasn't me. Like I would have never chose to hold on to him saying that. I would have never chose to create this whole identity around communication. And I would have never chose to like believe I had all this like social anxiety. So then when I was able to realize that it was all the script, that I was able to start to, not have it affect me so much anymore.
Because even in the moments leading up to that happening, you wouldn't have been thinking about that. You would have been just going and having fun and just hanging out with your friends.
Oh, exactly.
And then up until that point, it's like the glass shattered. So it would have been nice to see, I guess it's kind of like a clear thought, like there's no script there.
Yeah.
And you're just being you and your real self is coming through. And maybe he didn't enjoy the same fun as you. Maybe that is true. But it's the fact of like you should have kept just how you were being yourself. And yeah, it didn't work with him, but it would have worked with somebody else. But then it's like your own energy gets destroyed because of that one comment, but it's due to the script.
And you're saying, like, maybe, yeah, in all honesty, though, we had a lot of fun together. And going back, I'm like, there was obviously other things going on with him and in his life and in his head. That's because we would like play, like, we'd stay over each other's houses and play like PS2, and we'd like pull all-nighters doing like playing these silly games and stuff in the PS2. And we'd have a lot of fun. We'd be laughing all night and stuff. And like, we did have fun together. We did have a lot of fun together, and we did a lot together. It was very fun. It was there was just other stuff going on with him. That's not important though. I don't need to go back to analyze like why he said it or whatever. I'm just like, it was the script in him that said it, and it's the script in me that created this whole identity about it. And that's really the important takeaway from this. Like, what was going on with him, and why did he say, "Oh, did we have fun times or didn't we?" I had a lot of fun with him, and like, I just wouldn't have chose to believe all that crap the script made up after that event. It was more just interesting to think about that event occurred, and I think it's really like some people use the past as almost like a home. They get like stuck there, and as I did, like I created this whole identity around something that happened in my past. But now I try and treat the past more like a library. Like it's a good place to go to and like take lessons from and memories and like this conversation we're having now. But it's not a home. Like I'm not going to live there anymore. I'm not going to let the script create this whole like thing around who I am as a person based on things that have happened in the past anymore.
I quite like that, I guess, because sometimes like, you know how like, you flick back through your camera roll and you get reminded of it's like you're pulling a book out and reading like, oh, what I did in 2019.
Yes,
that's quite nice. I like that.
I'm glad. But yeah, that was a massive one for me, just around identity.
Did you have any other moments, or do you think that was like the most defining?
Well,
because then, see, for instance, I think, especially around that age, and you're starting to like, I don't know, go out on dates with girls or trying to approach girls. How did you then feel? Like trying to talk to a girl or trying to ask a girl out, like having that script in your head.
I guess probably what affected more is if I'd actually ended up dating someone, I don't remember being as bad, but maybe like just my opportunity to like date women or like maybe interact to find women to date, because that was like that's what comes first, right? Before, you know, if you're interested in someone, they're interested in you, then you ask each other out and then you end up going on a date. I guess getting to that point was probably a lot harder, because that's where the social anxiety was really like killing me.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it really affected me at work as well, actually. Like, I just remember, like, even answering the phone at work. I remember one of my first jobs I got when I was like 17. It was my second job. I was 17. And I was working in a leisure facility.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I did not want to answer the phone. I was terrified of answering the phone.
How do you find it now?
How do I find what now?
Speaking on the phone.
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all.
What did you do to...
Learn about the script, mate. That's what we're teaching you about now.
Now, like, give me your answers.
No, that is the answer. That is literally was my it's the answer I found that worked for me. Like, I literally just learned about the script and then I realized, oh yeah, this isn't me. And now it just started, like we spoke about, like that Elvis character, the actor, what's his name?
Aston Butler.
Aston Butler. When he finished playing Elvis, he couldn't drop the accent. So when I'd been playing this socially anxious character who was struggling with communication for the better part of probably 13 years, over a decade at least at this point, it's hard to drop the accent at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more you just practice being the real me, which is just me minus the script, minus these identities and stories that it had given me that I would have never chosen, I was then able to just start showing up as the real me more and more. And then script still gets me sometimes, especially in certain communication or social situations, but largely it's a shadow of what it once was in terms of how much it gets me and how much of a hold it has over me. And it's just because I've practiced being the real me more now than ever before. And I've practiced reinforcing the stories and identities that I would choose, you know? So that's all I've done.
Do you find, just even me sitting here, like I know I'm next to talk about my past and what the script has defined me. Even just sitting here, I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess up like what I'm going to say. Like, I feel like because we're trying to out the script, like we're speaking about like our core moments in which we think the script has defined our whole entire character. I think even trying to think about it, the script is coming in and I'm panicking. Do you feel like that, or is that just me?
I would say what you've just said is the perfect thing to say. Purely because when I'm feeling like that, expressing the fact that I'm feeling like that in the script, saying this or that to me is the perfect segue into whatever you want to talk about, because, or however, wherever you end up going. I've just always found saying exactly what the script says I can is a really good idea. Because
whenever we first sat down, we were just chatting away and we were talking about our week or whatever, and I was like, oh, this is fine, and then you started talking about like, yeah, whenever I was a stage and I was like, yeah, that's made me hula-hoo until I'm this person because of this. And then I just start to like, the script starts to come forward and I'm like, oh no, go back in, please.
You're this person because of what, sorry?
Because of these moments that have happened in my life. It's just reminding me that I'm about to talk about what's made me, turn me into who I am. And I start to get, like, I feel like I'm getting more awkward and nervous. And yeah, I just wondered if you were experiencing the same thing, or is it just me?
I'm not feeling awkward or nervous about this, about that story, about the boredom story, purely because I've told it several times now. Like, so I've done, every time we get together, as with like, I do a broadband consciousness thing, because like I said, I did the course, then I did the coaching course. Now I'm kind of in like the leadership program they do. We meet twice a year with other people that are coaches, and we basically just talk about how we're going to take this out into the world and make the world a better place. That's essentially what we spend our time doing. And every time we get together, or I've got together with them, we've told our story. And I also have a call most months with Liz, who's one of the people I did the course with, and it's just like a session 1-to-1 where we just talk about what's been going on with me and what the script's been saying to me and just that kind of stuff. So because I've had so many of those conversations, and even now in the podcast I've just said it again, I've just told that story so many times that it doesn't make me nervous to say anymore, because I've just shared it several times now. So I think it's probably a good nudge to start sharing it, because it gets easier the more times you do it. However, I am cognizant of our time. It's more my camera, because I try and record in Ultra HD.
Amateurs, guys.
Yeah, still learning the ropes. Anyway, my camera will run out of memory fairly soon. So what I'm actually thinking is we kind of dove a little bit into my story and something that a thing for me around communication this episode. I think we could have some closing thoughts around that.
Mm-hmm.
And then next episode,
Yay!
we'll dive into Sarah. But yeah, I think it was just having thought more about the dating thing, actually. I think it did have quite a big impact in terms of those initial stages, yeah. Until...
Well, even I was just thinking about how we sort of met.
Mm-hmm.
And we met through Hub Fitness. And I would like come into the class and say hi, but we would have less than a 2-minute conversation and I would get on with the class.
Mm-hmm.
Only until I left. And then I disappeared for maybe about 6 months. I just had no motivation to go back. You then messaged me on Instagram.
Yes.
But we had no other conversation apart from, hi, how are you? Yeah, good, how are you? That was it.
So?
We both struggle at that.
Oh, I see.
From like a friendship point of view, a relationship point of view, that barrier, as you're talking about, where you're trying to get from A to B, as in like friendship or friend or friend to girlfriend or whatever, when going to date, that bit I really struggle with as well. So we both were mute and we got past, hey, how are you? I think, thank goodness for Instagram. But that's how we started our journey. And then we were messaging like crazy. And then I think it's that way because we enjoyed hanging out with each other, but we just kept doing it. We ended up where we are. But I agree. I'm the same. I found it very, very difficult and very nerve-wracking.
To talk to people?
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot less. It bothers me a lot less now, like I say. And it's just been practicing this new identity of literally just, I'm not this person. The script made this up. It's not who I am. I would have never chosen it. I wouldn't choose it now.
And I think it depends on what environment you're in as well. Like whenever you're a kid, you're surrounded by people all the time, children.
Yeah.
And you're doing things with your friends. You're constantly hanging out with your friends. You're always with your friends no matter what. Then as you grow up and you go to uni, you're in a similar situation and then everyone just vanishes. You go off to your life. Maybe, hopefully you are so like nearby your close friends and things, but a lot of our close friends are all over the world. And then as you approach your 30s, there's this whole big discussion about it's really difficult to make friends. But I think if you're pushed out into a situation where like if you move abroad or you're on your own, you do it better because you are like, I think because we're now in a great relationship, we're probably less inclined to go out and make new friends. But at the end of the day, I also think it's just practice. Like if we were submerged amongst people all the time and trying to like converse with people and be social, we would have a better time at it. I think it's just because you're in it, then you're out of it. We've had a situation which has kind of defined your life and then you're trying to do it again and it's just that memory is always there. It's the script. But
totally.
I think if we were in a situation where we were just out talking to people and making friends, it would happen organically for us.
No, it totally would. I mean, it's happened many times since that moment with that boring thing. It's one part of my story that I'm thinking about that was it was quite a tough time with the social anxiety. It was so I have an interesting relationship. I will explain this. It's going to sound weird when I first say it. I have an interesting relationship with cubicle toilets in like pubs and clubs. Wait, don't go somewhere wacky.
I'm scared.
I have a love-hate relationship with them. Well, not these days. Like like these days, it's just a cubicle in the toilet. Like I don't have some. This is not residual. But back then, I had a love-hate relationship with it because I loved it because I could go there and be alone and I didn't have to like socialize with people. Because obviously it's a really social environment, a club or a pub. And I would often find I need to hide because it's too much. I'm overwhelmed. And I hated it because I didn't want to be there alone in like a club or a pub hiding in the toilet. But I loved it because I got to be there alone in the club or the pub hiding in the toilet. So it was just, it's just something that I was just thinking of it there, just a big part of my past that it was, now when I go to a club, I don't really go to clubs, but if I go to a pub or a bar, I just go to the toilet. Like you don't
have a residual feeling from it.
I don't stay there any longer than I need to
That's amazing.
To do what I need to do and then I'll leave. Like I don't, but it's just been the same. It's just been like, it was the script that created this whole relationship and this whole fear that I had.
Yeah.
So then all that time I spent hiding in the cubicle was just, listening to the script. And then as I got better at not listening to it, it just kind of diminished. I didn't have to, that's the thing. I didn't have to specifically work on that like, I didn't have to work on my specific relationship with the cubicle and like dive into that. It was just, or my specific social anxiety. I just had to be like, oh yeah, it's the script.
Yeah, it's not you.
And then
You would never choose to go hide in the bathroom cubicle.
But what I mean is, I didn't have to, like, I think when I was involved with a lot of personal development, like, it's a lot of like, or at least what I was exposed to, it was a lot more of like working on each individual thing in your life. And I just think that actually is exhausting. And it's like never ending, because as much as I might be making headway in some areas, it's like other areas were falling behind, or I was finding new things that were wrong with me that I could measure through personal development. That's like, I think it was just a case of being able to take all of that stuff, everything that the script was saying was wrong with me, and everything that all the problems, the scripts that I had, and just put it over in this cabinet of like, it's just the script, and all that's left is me. All I had to practice was ignoring the script, and then like kind of listening to my heart and showing up as the real me. And that's all I did.
Becomes less overwhelming as well.
It was crippling. And even now, like, because we speak about it with my business, like even now, if I let the script, listen to the script too much, it will like completely overwhelm me with like, it just starts overwhelming me with things to think about and overanalyzing everything. And it was just so easy to not have to be like, oh, I need to fix my mindset around my business and around my fitness and around my communication. It was just a case of, it's all the script.
But you are perfect as you are.
Yes,
it's the script that's coming in and trying to mess everything up.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like,
exactly.
You can be perfectly imperfect, whatever it is, but it's that way, like you as you are, without any changes, perfect. Yeah. Absolutely gold star.
Thank you. So are you. Yeah, you're totally right. So I think it was literally just a case of, being able to take all that and put it in its own scripty filing cabinet and then exist in my own one. And sometimes I accidentally end up in there. Mm-hmm. Just like I said 3 times this week I did, but it's just, I don't like share this stuff because I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with me, or there was something wrong with me last week. There was nothing wrong with me. I just had a script attack. The script just got me, and you were there and you supported me, and then I was totally fine. It's like I've said before, it's like me now having a shit day or a shit evening doesn't mean I'm shit, which is what I used to think. This is what used to happen when I would have those like, and they would used to get a lot worse. Like I would have, it doesn't really devolve into like this panic attack thing anymore. It used to, but now it's a lot more surface level than it was.
Yeah, like you were able to fall asleep and wake up, and the next day you were okay.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
Maybe not 100%, but you were there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I'm more or less. Yeah, I'm more or less back to me again. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of my story, at least, around communication and social anxiety. And you have any closing thoughts around it?
I think you've come, even the time I've known you, you've come so far. Like even with your business, and even with like even your fitness and communication and everything, like the guy that I met compared to now is, so I can't even imagine how far you've come during that time where you truly thought you were a terrible communicator, even now. And
I think it's really just a result of, like I've said, just practicing being the real me, and as a result of that I've just become more conscious. And it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, lifts all ships. A rising tide lifts all ships. Well, something like that. One of the saying goes something like that. So it's like if the tide is, the water's like my consciousness. As that's gone up, just everything else about my life just goes up with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think just continuing to work on that. But it's just good to always
remember like how far you've come. In those moments where you feel like a script attack is coming, you need, like, I always try and remind you, like, think of where you were like a year ago, 2 years ago, even totally. 5.
No, totally.
I think it's really important to remember, and it's even advice for myself as well. Like, you need to remember where day dot was compared to where you are now, because you can just forget. But yeah, you're doing amazing.
Thank you. So are you.
So yeah, those are my closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts are, thanks for listening to this episode. This whole episode has been my thoughts.
All about you, hon.
But what we'll do is next episode we'll essentially just pick up where we left off.
Nice.
I think
it's good to take time to talk about it, because it's a lot, you know.
You won't have heard it, but about halfway through this episode or some point I like paused the episode. So me and Sarah, we was like, oh, let's make this episode, we'll talk about me, and the next one we can do you. So that's what we'll do. Just because we were running out of time, and I was like, I don't really want you to have to speed run your.
No, we need time to talk about.
We need time to talk, and we're not going to be able to speed run it. Like, there's no way we get this done in like we've got 2 minutes of recording time left, so there's no way we get it done. Anyway, my closing thoughts are: thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I hope some of my sharing and rambling about my life has been insightful or helpful in some way.
Yeah, resonating.
Yes, and we will talk to you next week, back on our regularly scheduled programming, where we dive into Sarah's story and a little bit about some things from your past that the scripts maybe created a big identity around.
Yes, can't wait.
So thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.